The Prime Minister is saying that the entire country should be following the Dominic Perrottet New South Wales model, which is at a point in time, sooner rather than later, as soon as December, or maybe when you hit 90%, that's the time for no more vaxxed and unvaxxed rules. It should be everyone's had a chance. Now we're going to roll the dice together.
In Victoria, the Premier says all next year you will need a vaccine passport to get it to be admitted to a lot of facilities. In New South Wales, once they hit 90%, they drop that. Do you think that's an overreaction by the Victorian government?
Well, let's just see what happens. What I'm seeing happen is that as people get more comfortable with the new arrangements, we're seeing a lot of these things fall away. And I think what's happening in New South Wales is showing that this can be achieved, it can be done safely. I understand people are concerned and nervous as we go into this next phase and they're looking for some assurances. I get all that. But what I think the lived experience will be, and it will be quite different. People will see that we can live with this virus, that the high rates of vaccinations, and we're going to have one of the highest rates of vaccination in the world, not just one of the lowest rates of fatalities from COVID, and not just one of the strongest economies and economic performance through COVID, but we're going to have one of the highest vaccination rates in the world.
Absolutely. But also, the lockdowns and all of the abuses of power of the Victorian government has led to a record number of people complaining about the Victorian government to the state's ombudsman. Now, what I like about the state's ombudsman is this person called them out on red shirts. This is the person who has called BS on their overextension of powers. As a result, her funding was not increased in line with inflation. But the latest polls suggest that despite the fact they're off a little bit, Daniel Andrews will win the next election this time next year in Victoria. The world's longest lockdown, promise of no more lockdown, and giving himself unlimited power for more lockdowns. Despite the fact that the Labor Party's lost 2 points, their primary vote is above the Liberal Party. Independents have now jumped to the Greens, and others are currently at 7%, up by 1. And as for preferred Premier, well, Andrews might have lost 5% and be under 50%. But Matthew Guy has jumped from the job, of course, that Michael O'Brien had, up the best part of 8 points, but don't know. Still up for grabs, 23%. So even if a majority of those broke with the Liberals, there would be enough to get Andrews back over the line, potentially. Wait, watch and see. But seriously, the world's longest lockdowns, promise of no more, I'm going to give myself more powers to go even harder in lockdowns. Why would you vote for this bloke? Ever?